Hello guys and welcome to my new video. We're talking about patch 8.3, the things that you might have missed with the abundance of information out there. A lot of people are still confused about, hey, what keystone should I do right now? What's the difference between patch 8.3 and season 4 release? What's going on there? What key should I do? What's gonna give me the maximum 15 reward from the weekly chest? What about this corrupted gear? How much corruption can I actually get? And if I get more corruption, what kind of negative effects do I have to deal with? And can my class handle that? And also the fact, what's going on with Mechagon? Is Mechagon, the new dungeon, is it worth farming it? Is there going to be any good loot? On top of that, some of the professional changes. So I want to cover all of these, and we'll be looking at Wowhead in terms of a lot of the information that's out there and trying to prioritize information in an easy to understand kind of manner. So the first thing I want to talk about, the difference. January 14th is patch 8.3. That's when patch 8.3 hits. January 21st is when season 4 starts for Mythic. Plus, you also get Nihiloto Raid, normal and heroic releases. And the 28th January is when the Mythic Nihiloto is going to be released, and also the cap is going to be increased for gear and things like that. But that's the big difference. So in terms of simplicity, let's assume you're in January 14th, patch 8.3 has hit. What do I do? What key level should I go right now? So the general consensus, you should try and get a minimum of 19 key done. Now I know this is going to be hard for a lot of people, but what does that mean? A plus 19 done during the 14th is going to provide you with a 15 key when season 4 hits, and that is January 21st. And this 15 key is going to mean that you're going to get the highest reward from your weekly chest. Again, there's a lot of different ways to optimize this, because if you're capable of getting a 22 key done on January 14th, and this is going to be extremely hard for majority of people. If you can't do this, a lot of the Mythic raiding guilds have these groups, who, or at least one group who does a 22 key, which means if you do a 22 key, you will get an 18 key when season 4 hits, and after that, the following week, you'll get a 17 key. Completing an 18 and 17 key during season 4 is going to mean that you're going to have enough Titan Residuum to get a random Azeroth piece that's going to be 475. If you can see it here, because it's going to cost 4,750 Titan Residuum. So you'll be able to get this on like the second week or Mythic release or something along those lines. So you don't have to worry whether you're going to get an Azeroth piece that you can scrap and things like that. Like I mentioned, 22 key being done on the January 14th is going to be extremely hard for majority of people. A lot of Mythic guilds are doing it in a way that you have one group that's pushing to 22. Then when season 4 starts, all of those members are going to get an 18 key, and they split up in these other groups and they give 18 keys to other people and they try and complete it. It doesn't have to be done in time, it just has to be done. Again, it can be very hard because an 18 in new season, especially on Tyrannical, some of those Tyrannical bosses might be really hard to do. So you are kind of playing into it, but if you can't do it, try and get an 22 key if you can, or 19 at minimum on January 14th. That's going to set you pretty well. In terms of what's happening in terms of season rewards, on the 21st when season 4 starts, there's still going to be season 3 rewards. There's not going to be Titan Residuum dropping from these, and that's very important, because Blizzard has mentioned here that until the January 28th, you're not getting any Titan Residuum from weekly chests that you obtain on January 21st or weekly chests that you obtain on January 14th. So keep this in mind, which means that, again, you can see it here. Instead of Titan Residuum, those chests will reward double the usual AP. That means getting higher key is gonna give you more AP. And guess what? Double the AP means you're going to get your Heart of Azeroth ranks a lot higher, and the amount of AP that you need is actually not that high. At 70 to 71, you need 17,000 AP. At 71 to 72, you need 22,000, which is really not that bad. And especially considering that, let's say you might not be level 70 yet, you might be 69 or something like that. It's worth to holding on to rewards like, you know, reputation caches and things like that. Maybe you're doing that on an expedition map kind of little bug, or holding on to maps. It's very good, because turning in your AP quests when patch 8.3 hits, which again I have to mention, January 14th is when patch hits. Turning in AP rewards then are going to be insanely valuable. and it's going to save you a lot of time. And considering that the AP grind in patch 8.3 is not looking that bad, getting to 75, which is going to unlock an additional minor essence slot, is not going to be too bad in my opinion. AP is not looking to be as nearly bad as it was in 8.25. If we look at things like Mechagon, and a lot of people have been asking about Vision of Perfection. So if you're doing Mechagon, and Mechagon I'm assuming is going to open up with Season 4 Mythic Plus release, and Season 4, again, we have to differentiate, is happening on January 21st. So we're assuming Mechagon is released on January 21st. First of all, Mechagon is going to be broken up into 2 different dungeons, and is going to be broken up into Junkyard and Workshop, and doing any of those will grant you at least some currency towards your Vision of Perfection, especially Vision of Perfection rank 3, and from the testing that Wowhead did, it only happens once per week. So if you are farming your Vision of Perfection and you really don't want to do it right now, you can wait until patch or Season 4 and do it with the groups, because guess what? People are going to be farming Mechagon a lot because of things like the customizable rings. And these customizable rings, when Season 4 is released or when Mythic is released, the cap is released and everything, will get up to 465 item level. And you have things like, if you damage an enemy while you're behind them, if you heal a target whose health is below 50%, if you use 3 different spells or abilities on the same target. Again, these texts here are not actually right because they changed. If you activate an ability while your health is below 50%, you can combine this activity, this ring, with another ring that's going to activate with a specific bonus, like then you gain 198 haste, or for healers, then you heal up to 5 injured enemies for a certain amount. So all of a sudden, these rings are kind of like a tier piece rings that are going to scale incredibly well because of the item level. They're possibly going to be able to get corrupted, haven't completely confirmed this. But these rings are going to be farmed by nearly everybody in the game. Mechagon is going to be an insane source of rings because these will equate to an insane amount of item level. And like I mentioned, if they get corrupted, you cannot get better rings than these in the current game, depending on what kind of bonuses you need. Like I mentioned, for Holy Paladin, even let's say if you heal a target whose health is below 50%, and then you combine it with a ring, then you heal up to 5 injured nearby allies, that's going to be insane amount of free healing. And every healer is going to try and get some sort of combination of these rings. So we also have to talk about corrupted gear, and corrupted gear is a big portion. No one has really talked about how much corruption should you get. A lot of people have assumed about 39 because, first of all, the second you get any corrupted gear, you'll get Grasping Tendrils, which is kind of magic dispel. Healers can dispel it, or anyone who can dispel magic can do it. It kind of slows you down. Once you get 20 plus, you get Eye of Corruption, which is basically a circle around you. You can only see it, or you can only be damaged by it, and you just have to avoid it. It gets bigger the more corruption you have. And then at 40, you get this thing called Grand Delusions, which is a breakpoint for a lot of people, because Grand Delusions, taking damage has a chance to summon a thing from beyond which pursues you for 8 seconds. Its speed is increased with further corruption. So you get this ad that's following you, and it actually deals a decent amount of damage, and you can kind of get comboed. You might get Grasping Tendrils, and then you get Grand Delusions, and you can't run away, and you get hit by it and you might die. So a lot of people have talked about getting 39 corruption. If you get 39 corruption, you are not triggering Grand Delusions. And on top of that, you have a cloak that's going to reduce corruption, essences that are going to reduce corruption. So there is a lot of leeway in this. But certain classes, let's say druids who have Entangling Roots, Resto druids and Guardian druids who have Ursoc Vortex, and a lot of other classes who have ways of avoiding this, might go in or opt into getting more than 40 and try to get something like 59 corruption. With 59 corruption, you're not triggering Cascading Disaster, which if you're stuck by a thing from beyond, you will be immediately affected by Grasping Tendrils and the Eye Corruption. So you can see how certain classes might be able to go beyond 39 into 59, depending on what spec you play, and all the sudden specs that have, you know, a stun, a slow, or some way to avoid this Grand Delusion will benefit more from corrupted gear. And this is going to come with time. People are going to test it. People are going to test whether it's worth it or not. But keep in mind, 39 is looking like a safe bet. 59 if you can really deal with the Grand Delusion. And that's interesting to keep track of. And besides that, a lot of people haven't really talked about this. again, with horrific visions are going to be very, very important in terms of getting your cloak upgrades. There's going to be food that's gonna enable you to do it easier, like while fed increases your movement speed by 20%, while the vision of Nazat. So all of a sudden, some of these foods are going to be very, very good if you want to progress your horrific visions, because horrific visions are going to be, well, they're kind of time gated or gated by the cloak level, so you won't be able to do a lot of horrific visions at the start. But group content or grouping up for horrific visions is most likely going to be the best, because you can revive people in a group. If you die solo, that's it. You cannot upgrade your cloak and you're behind. So a lot of the times people will play it safe, and this food is going to help out with this. But overall, I hope people get a decent understanding of what's happening on January 14th, which is the patch 8.3 release. January 21st is when season 4 begins. January 14th, you want to get that 19 key or a 22 key if you can, depending on a group and things like that. And on January 21st, new season starts. Awaken is there. There's a lot of people are going to be doing like a +6 to get 445 from Mythic Plus, and then going to try and cap a +15. Keep in mind, keep your AP rewards for when patch 8.3 hits, because you're going to get a lot of AK. Try and get a high level key done. Mechagon is looking to be like a juicy sort of rings. On top of that, in Mechagon, you also have pocket-sized computation device, which the cards are also going to get better. And the red card, which a lot of people are using, Psychotronic, for extra damage, is going to scale based on the item level of your yellow card. So maybe certain specs are still going to be using pocket-sized computation device. Keep it in your bags. I know for a fact Holy Paladins, even though haste is going to be less desirable, it's not going to be as OP as it is in 8.25. A lot of the haste rewards or the red punch cards are still looking to be quite strong, considering that Holy Paladins really don't like that intellect. Intellect is not really that great in raiding scenarios, so secondary stats are really, really powerful. So keep it just in case. It might still be very strong for your spec. Thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know if I missed out on something important. Let me know if you have any tips and tricks on how to optimize your 8.3 experience. I hope everyone's gonna have a good time. It's going to be very, very toxic when 8.3 is going to be released in terms of Mythic Plus. Everyone's going to be panicking and trying to get their +15s done. A lot of people are going to have a hard time finding groups. Try and get your +15 keys done. That means getting a +19 on January 14th, because it's going to be really, really hard. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in my next guide.